to the UK experience in office was a baptism of fire. We had to endure the strong opposition at that time with a very strong race, religious narrative. To be polite, but actually racism and religious bigotry. But I think with political stability and a focus on policies that would affect change, focusing on the economy, we are able to weather the storm, and now politically we are politically very stable. We use that stability to introduce reforms in the country. And clarity of policies is, to me, very fundamental. That includes the Industrial Master Plan or the Energy Transition Roadmap or Semiconductor Strategy and a number of various other policies that would be able to spearhead the new direction for the country. Now, having said that, the challenge, of course, an effective implementation of such programs. So there must be commitment for administrative or civil service reform, Fiscal Responsibility Act in place, because the continuous deficit is no longer tenable as a economic policy. So I think we have passed that stage now. And we have built camaraderie, friendship, and strong bonds within ASEAN. So once I assume the chairmanship of ASEAN, things becomes very easy because we're dealing with not only leaders in neighboring countries, but strong, trusted friends. And that's why, as you alluded to earlier, ASEAN places its focus on ASEAN energy grid, which covers from Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, up to Sarawak, Indonesia, and covering countries, most of our countries. Then we have programs, new policies, approaches with neighbors like Johor, Singapore Economic Zone to ensure that we both benefit from this new dynamism and propel this area in the south of Peninsula to Singapore, and of course covering areas surrounding Singapore, which includes Indonesia. In the north of Malaya, because there's somewhat a problem with Myanmar and also minor skirmishes in South Thailand, we embarked on this series of discussions with the Thai authorities to ensure that peace is stabilized by focusing on economic development to the poorer sub-regions in the south of Thailand and in the north of Malaya. Why I'm sharing with you here, because these are the new realities, focusing on economy and focusing on the making Malaysia as an attractive destination for investments and making all the necessary changes or policy changes to ensure that we can sustain this policy. But beyond this, we are talking about region. ASEAN remains, is considered to be one of the most peaceful sub-regions in the world. 700 million people. And the fastest growing economy in the world. We have absolutely no serious issues with our neighbors. I mean, yes, there is this outstanding issue with Myanmar. But the ASEAN consensus is there. Yes, we have to resolve, but based on certain principles, the 5-point consensus. And we're engaging with the Myanmar authorities now, both the junta and the opposition. So I think that is the position that we take. Then we have to move. We are fortunate, as you have heard. I don't intend to read and give you more details because of the governor here, Secretary General, Treasury here, meeting minister and the ministers here. That's their job. If I start giving all these details, they will be irrelevant after this. And most of the figures are quite known to you. And beyond that, you see, ASEAN understands that there's limitations. Of course, there's uncertainty. They say unpredictability due to the sanction of Trump as President of the United States. I don't share that view necessarily, because finally when leaders assume responsibility, they will cater for the interests of their country and what be of course immediate benefit, but we require a global sort of undertaking and relations, both economic, trade and investments. American interests overseas and outside investments is too huge to be ignored. Some policies would require some adjustments for the first few months, for sure. But in my discussions from the President of China to leaders in ASEAN to UAE and Saudi Arabia, of course there are concerns, but generally people are still optimistic. It would depend largely to what we do to assuage the condition. For example, Malaysia then takes on this role of building this cohesiveness and integrated network, both digital, interconnection, joint investments, joint position vis-a-vis governance in ASEAN, energy transition, grid, energy, and also the ASEAN energy grid. But at the same time, we explore new areas. Cumulatively, United States is number one investor into Malaysia, but we are probing that into areas and with China, new areas. And we focus on, of course, data centers, AI, etc. But we also having this sort of arrangement with the Gulf states. So there will be in May, end of May, for example, ASEAN GCC conference, which is interesting. We're exploring new avenues, new markets, new trading partners beyond just the West, United States, Europe, China, but also the GCC in a very meaningful manner. And this is quite unique in terms of our decision to then collaborate with the GCC and having focus on energy, on digital, on trade and investments. I had a very useful, fruitful session with Prime Minister Ucaptama yesterday, number 10, and of course to thank him because UK has agreed with the CPTPP partnership, which of course unlocks the access to key markets for Malaysian exports, including palm oil, rubber, and timber. And that sort of arrangement would help in our potential negotiations with the EU, with the main focus to use this to encourage more trade investments and free flow of these products. And we, of course, agreed to proceed with and enhance relations with the countries in the South. We call it Global South, including the BRIC nations, so that we remain close with our traditional allies in the West, United States, Europe, and opening new avenues with China, India, Australia, and through BRICS, extend that sort of relations with Africa, Latin America, and Russia. So purely the focus is business, investments, and trade. And finally, contrary to many assertions about the unresolved, contentious issues in the Palestine-Israeli conflict. We are at least relieved that there is that pace of progress, which was again able to be resolved, partly by President Biden's initial efforts, but certainly with the firmness and resolution on the part of the incoming President Trump. I did discuss with Steve Witkoff in Abu Dhabi, who is the designated chief for the Trump administration in the Middle East, who said, contrary to the past assertions, they will have to, of course, deal with Israel and the Palestinian authorities and Hamas. Because what we are need to do is, of course, to resolve the conflict. And you must then engage with stakeholders, but impose the terms, naturally. Why I'm referring to this? Because that would mean that we are not distracted with these contentious issues, secure peace and stability, and get back to our focus and on the economy. So our, again, trajectory has been shaped by embracing innovation, global trade, human capital development. So back to business. So thank you very much.